We've used cold email to help companies scale to more than seven figures in ARR, and in the past few months, our clients have added more than $1 million in revenue, annualized, of course, into their own pipelines and closing deals at the same time. Here's how lead generation agencies are adding more than six figures in pipeline every single month for their customers using only cold email. So first things first, cold email is not dead. However, the way that we're doing it in 2025 is very different from the previous years. If you're currently sending generic messages to massive lists, chances are that your mailbox reputation starts going down very quickly. Therefore, you're going to the spam more often. You're not getting the same reply rate as you used to back in the day. And that is simply because everybody's doing cold email, and it's very difficult to stand out from the crowd if you're sending the same thing as everybody else. We've used cold email to help companies scale to more than seven figures in ARR. And in the past few months, our clients have added more than $1 million in revenue, annualized, of course, into their own pipelines and closing deals at the same time. So in this video, we're going to be breaking down the 7 cold email trends that we've seen work out firsthand so that you can replicate them and get a better success into your cold email campaigns. So for trend number 1, we have personalization that actually works. Remember back in the days when personalization was just having the first and last name of that person and maybe even the company name within cold email? Nowadays, that's not cutting it enough because everybody can get their data from any single place and it's going to become very generic. What we have seen work firsthand for a lot of different customers is actually personalizing by specific niches and also by using relevance into their personalization. Not just personalize because you want to personalize, but also become very relevant. And we've actually seen some success with just being relevant and not personalization anyways, because at the end of the day, what people care about is how you can help me at this specific point in time, not what is the best taco place in Mexico at the moment. Lately, what we have been seeing from our customers is that they're using Clay a lot with a lot of if-then branches, so that if, depending on the information that they're receiving from the AI, they're able to personalize it by being relevant to their own use case and a very specific pain point that that customer has to get a better response rate down the road. Not only does this personalization help you get a better response rate, but at the same time, it allows you to have better longevity of mailboxes because since each email is unique, you're not getting marked as spam as often. And because it's relevant, people don't want to mark you as spam since the email would be actually very interesting for them. The second topic that I want to talk about are micro-targeted lists. And this goes well in hand with the first topic that I described, which is not only about being personalized and relevant, but it's also about being very specific into who you're contacting. If in the past you were sending or creating a lit list of B2B SaaS founders, that is not necessarily the case anymore. What you want to do is become more niche as, well, B2B SaaS of which industry? B2B SaaS of founders that have a company with more than 3 sales reps, founders that are hiring for somebody on a go-to-market strategy, founders that are raising more than 10 million. That sort of thing makes it a little bit more narrow when it comes down to the list size. But at the same time, your response rates are going to over exceed the number of responses that you might have gotten from a normal, just, generic lit list where you had to contact, 10 times as many people to get the same number of responses. So you're, cleaning your reputation. People actually like the content that you're sending, and it's extremely and highly relevant over everything that you're doing. For trend 3, we have leading with value and not a pitch. It's still very amazing to me to see how even my inbox gets flooded with people saying, hey, this is Tony from company name. We can help you do X, Y, Z. What we have seen work for customers lately is, first and foremost, making your language when it comes down to what you're sending or what you're writing, very, very easy to understand it in a way. If you have a very complicated product, you shouldn't say anything unique about your product. If you're having an AI and you talk about RAG, nobody knows what that is. What they care about is what that feature that you have just built or what your product does, how can it benefit me at the end of the day? And you want to make it as simple as possible for them to understand, because you have to understand that people are not necessarily the experts in that matter. You are the expert in that matter. And if you're also the expert in that matter, you should be able to dumb it down so that everybody can read it, everybody can understand, and what the outcome is going to be at the end of the day. Something like, hey, Tony, we can help you book meetings, right? Let's say I'm a lead generation agency. We can help you book more meetings, increase pipeline in XYZ. Would you be curious to know how we can help you get to that? Like something along those lines. Sometimes it's a little bit important to, communicate how you can do things, but it's not priority when it comes down to your messaging itself. A good messaging is all about making it short, making it extremely easy for people to understand what the outcome is. And then if they have a question about how you do it, then they will respond back to you and asking, hey, you're sure I'm interested, maybe sending more information. And also when it comes down to the call to action, you do not want to have a very, very strong commitment, right out the gate. You want to have something like, hey, do you mind if I share a quick little video? Do you mind if I send you a quick audit, like a free audit? Something that makes it you keep on giving value first without expecting anything in return. And if they convert or they don't convert, that is not your priority. Your priority is just to help out. And people actually value that lately. So just to summarize this topic, lead with value first, make your emails short, think and talk about the outcome itself, and drop a use case on how you helped another company do the exact same thing that they would wish that they could do. That's basically it. For trend 4, and this is probably one of my favorite topics, is inboxing first and everything else being second. Of course, you should have a great infrastructure. Of course, you should have like warm mailboxes. And everything that we just spoke about from trend 1 to 3 actually will help you improve your deliverability. It will help you because it's more targeted, it is unique messaging, it is hyper relevant, and it's low commitment. Right? So it basically has all the components when it comes down to the copywriting of things that you can do to get into the inbox folder. And then the other component is just infrastructure itself. So just make sure that you have a trusted provider that you can trust, all things considered, that will help you get into the inbox folder if you're taking care of the 50% of it, right? So, getting into the inbox, 50% just infrastructure, 50% copywriting. If you have a good copywriting, doesn't really matter as much on the infrastructure. It will matter, but not as much. You could have the best infrastructure in the world where if you're sending bad content to bad recipients, that's just going to keep on burning down. And it's not the deliverability fault. It is basically what you're doing in the first place. A few additional tips when it comes down to this trend 4 on inboxing first. I love when people just write a first good email, because that good email, short email, will have a higher chance of getting into the inbox folder. You have to understand that if you're sending a large content or, very large copy overall, there's more chances of your copy getting spammed or getting flagged as spam just by correlation. And again, we've made a few videos on the different alerts that Google or Outlook will send you if you're going into the spam folder. It could be messages like this have been identified as spam in the past. Lots of messages from X domain have been identified as spam in the past, etc. The larger your email is, the more likely it is to resemble an email that has been marked as spam in the past, and therefore you're going to associate it and just move it directly into the spam folder, which is not something that you want to do. So first email, the main goal of the first email should not only be to get a response, but also getting into the inbox folder in the first place. By following all the different practices that we just spoke about in the trend 1 to 3, you should be able to get into the inbox folder at a way higher rate for a longer period of time while keeping good results all the way. For trend 5, we have using proof every single time. Nothing builds trust faster than having a use case, especially if it's from a competitor or something that you're sending to one specific recipient on, hey, just so you know, competitor X, basically achieved desired outcome with us by doing XYZ. That will basically help them to associate, this is that competitor, this is how they're doing things. I can see myself in that same position, so therefore I want to work with you at that point, right? So they don't want to give any competitive advantage, especially if it's a big brand. And if you don't have any use cases, again, try to basically either work for free or just keep on getting more customers. At some point, they're going to keep on getting, or you're going to keep on receiving them. It just becomes a lot easier when your clients or yourself have very unique use cases where you can basically match it to your prospects, let's say either industry or position in title, etc. That's always going to be better. Builds trust faster, allows them to associate the desired outcome with a company that they already know. So it creates the synapses very, very easily. And at the same time, it just makes your email look more professional because you're saying that I have already helped other companies do the same thing that I want to do with you. So for trend 6, we have short and permission-based copy. When I'm talking about short emails, I mean emails that are between 50 and maybe 120 words total. Ideally less than 100, but 120 you can keep it. Not only is it the length of the email itself, but it's also how it's written. If all of a sudden you get an email and it's a big block of text, your mind automatically shuts it down because it's too much work. It's not easy to read. So instead, what I personally do and what I recommend my clients do is also to just do lots of line breaks. So do like single sentences as paragraphs. If you must explain something, maybe do 2 sentences, but make them a little bit shorter and making it easy for the clients to read. If they see it on their phone, they should be able to read whatever you're sending very easy, and it's going to be easy to digest to the eye. If you see a big chunk of text, it's not going to work out. And at the same time, when it comes down to permission-based is, going back to the call to action, mind if I send you something real quick? Because it's low commitment on the customer, they will basically say yes more often than not. Your positive reply rate will increase, not necessarily your meeting book rate, but that is your job after getting a response. And again, your goal should always be to get as many responses as possible, because if they respond back to you, they might get their signature with a phone number or something, which we're going to cover in the next topic. There's multiple ways of following up with someone once they've responded positively, and you don't want to waste those opportunities, and you should always try to aim to book those meetings to close more deals down the road. And just to wrap it up, trend 7 is going to be the multi-channel follow-up. Even though I'm the deliverability guy, believe me that if I get a positive response and the signature of this prospect has their phone number, I'm calling them right at the gate. You should always aim to maximize the chances of contacting or booking a meeting out of somebody that has booked or has, positively responded to an email of yours. So what does that mean? Send them a LinkedIn connection request, send them an email if needed, call them, keep on emailing them. Become annoying to the point that they just want to book a meeting with you so that you can, if that makes sense. And it's not going to be a bad thing, because if they responded like, sure, send me more info, or sure, I want to book with you, it's because you already caught their attention. So get that attention, put it into your calendar, and get to close that deal out the gate. That's it. Those are my top 7 cold email trends that you should keep an eye out on 2025. If you're currently struggling with email deliverability, reach out to us. There's going to be a link in the description below where we can basically take a look into your whole infrastructure, see what are the things that you might be lacking, and then flag a few things that could improve whatever infrastructure you're currently using. If you're ready to scale your outbound efforts in 2025, let us know, and we're here to help. See you guys.